Do solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give before this court and jury to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
See right there, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please tell the jury your name and spell your last name?
Martin Odom, O-D-O-M.
And what's your occupation?
I am employed by the City of Cincinnati as a police officer, and I'm currently assigned to the Criminalistics Unit.
How long have you been a Cincinnati police officer?
Over 27 years.
And maybe briefly, if you could take us through how you started and some of your assignments.
I started as a patrol officer. From there, I was an undercover officer for several years. From there, I became a canine officer and trainer for 15 years. And then I joined our Criminalistics Unit.
And a couple officers have already described what the Criminalistics Unit is and what type of things you do, so I'm going to skip over that question.
Okay.
And ask you to direct your attention to July 19th of 2015.
Yes.
And did you respond to the Sam Dubose crime scene sometime that evening?
Yes, I did.
Were you on duty that evening, Officer Odom?
I was recalled. I worked that morning, and then I was recalled because I was on call.
And tell the jury in your own words what you did when you got to the crime scene.
Once I arrived on scene, I had saw three criminalists already there. Officer Pham, Officer Horning, and Officer Alexander.
And when you get to a crime scene, are duties divided at all at a crime scene in terms of what criminalists would take care of, what responsibility?
Yes, it is.
And was that done in this case?
Yes, it was.
And what ultimately was your responsibility in the Dubose-Tenson case?
I ended up being assigned or going to University Hospital.
And what were you asked to do, or what was your role at University Hospital?
To photograph Officer Tenzing and his injuries, and to retrieve all of his clothing and equipment.
So tell us, Officer Odom, then you go to University Hospital. What do you do there?
I went to the room that Mr. Tenzing was in. As I went through the door, I told him who I was, or advised him who I was and what I was there to do.
Was anybody else in the room, if you recall?
Homicide investigator, as well as there was another Cincinnati police sergeant in the room with Mr. Tenzing.
Was he being treated at all at that point?
At the time that I came into contact with him, he was not.
And just tell us how the conversation went when you went in the room.
I told him I was Officer Odom. I was from Cincinnati Police Criminalistics Unit, and I was there to photograph him and to photograph any injuries that he had, and I asked if there was any injuries, at which point he pointed to certain areas, at which point I photographed those areas. I'm sorry.
Was your role to try to question him at all?
No, there's an investigator for that.
And did you have any casual conversation, like shooting the breeze type of conversation with him at all?
No.
All business?
Yes.
Okay, and tell the jury then in your own words, Officer Odom, you told him that you were going to photograph any injuries that he wanted to show you?
Yes, that he had.
Okay. And did you take photos of what he showed you?
Yes, I did.
And then the person that you saw in that was like a treatment or assessment room. Is he here today in the courtroom?
Yes, he is.
Where is he?
He's next to Attorney Al Matthews.
Maybe
Brown.
Stu Matthews?
I'm sorry, Stu. I'm
Okay.
sorry, forgive me.
Okay.
So, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I want to show you some photos, Officer Odom. They're marked A, B, C, and D. Do those look familiar to you, Officer Odom?
Yes, sir.
And what are 7A, B, C, and D?
There are pictures of Mr. Tenzing and his injuries.
And are these photos that you took on the evening of July 19, 2015?
Yes, it is.
Judge, I'd like to admit and display 7A through D.
No objection.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm going to show you first what's been marked State's Exhibit 7A. Could you let the jury know what they're looking at there, Officer Odom?
That's a photograph of Mr. Tenzing sitting on the bed there, and I wanted an initial picture of him, how he looked at that point.
Okay.
And
What are we looking at in 7B?
that's going to be a scar on his left inner forearm.
Is that something he pointed out to you was something that he wanted you to photograph because it was an injury that he wanted you to note?
Yes, I asked if there were any injuries.
Okay. You just went to the areas that he told you about?
Correct.
Okay. Seven C.
That's going to be his left outer knee and abrasion.
Okay. And 7D, what are we looking at there, Officer?
There was no, excuse me, there was no injury, but it was just a full photograph from his backside.
So he didn't tell you that he was injured at all on the part of his body that's depicted in 7D?
Correct, but there's a front, normally we take a frontal and a rear.
Okay.
And that's what I did there.
Okay. You weren't noting any injury in 7D at all?
Correct.
And didn't see any injury on that part of his body in 7D?
That's correct.
Now, you told the jury earlier that you had another role there, which was to collect some equipment?
That's correct. To collect his uniform and his duty holster, the rest of his equipment that he had on him that night.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to maybe take a look at this just to make sure it's safe. Would you want some gloves if you look at this?
If you have some, please. Thank you. Okay. There's no, it's safe, nothing in it.
And when you say something safe, Officer Odom, what do you mean by that?
That there is no bullet in the chamber or anywhere that it could cause harm to anyone.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 8D, is this the weapon, the handgun that you recovered from Ray Tenzing that evening?
Yes, sir, it is.
80, I'm sorry. I need to press that. 80. 80.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. It's 8-letter O.
You better take that down.
Oh.
Thanks.
Now, with regard to 8O, the handgun, Tenzing's handgun, did you unload it or do anything to change the way it was when you collected it at the hospital?
No, sir.
And why was that?
It was in its duty holster, which was in a safe point, and I had it secured. So I just took the duty holster along with the rest of his uniform.
Okay. Since you have your gloves on, I'm going to hand you these things. 8P.
Yes, sir.
And what is 8P, Officer Odom?
This is Mr. Tenzing's gun belt.
Did you collect that at the hospital?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you told the jury earlier, Officer Odom, that the 8O was contained. Was that contained in 8P?
Yes, sir.
And the weapon was in this holster?
Yes, sir, it was.
You just took the whole thing?
Yes, sir, I did.
What is 8Q?
These are Mr. Tenzing work boots.
And you collected those from him that evening?
Yes, sir, I did.
Were those in the treatment or assessment room with him?
Yes, sir, they were.
And he let you know these were the shoes that he was wearing at the time of the offense?
Yes, sir, I asked for all of his equipment.
Okay. Eight R. And we don't have to open it up, but if you want to look at that exhibit and maybe see what's written on there.
It's a pair of black pants with folding knife and belt.
Okay. And you collected his, the pants that he was wearing that evening as well?
Yes, sir, I did.
Eight S, is it Sam?
And this is his police vest with badge.
You collected that as well?
Yes, sir, I did.
And 8T. And if I were to, would that be the uniform shirt that he had on that night, the actual uniform shirt?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, sir, what did you do with all these items? The gun, the belt, the clothing, the vest, the shoes, all that stuff. What did you do with it?
I collected it and took it back to our office and gave it to another officer for processing.
Either to be looked at there or sent to the coroner's lab?
That's correct.
And did that basically end your role in this case?
Yes, sir, it did.
No further questions, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Matthews, anything on cross?
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
Officer Odom, do you have any idea how long you spent with Ray Tenzing in that hospital room that night?
Offhand, no, I'm going to say possibly 20 or 30 minutes.
And during that 20 or 30 minutes, did you have occasion to observe his demeanor?
Yes.
And what was that? What was his demeanor?
He seemed, or I'm sorry, appeared, in my opinion, to be scared or afraid.
Okay, and you indicated that all you did was collect his clothing and his equipment and observe his or photograph his injuries, correct?
Correct.
During that time, you did not have any conversation with him about the incident that led him to be there?
No, sir.
And you indicated that there was a homicide detective in the room. Do you know who that was?
That was Officer Marcus McNeil.
And you also indicated there was a Cincinnati police sergeant. Was that Nate Asbury?
Yes, sir.
Were there any other people present?
It may have been his FOP president, UC's FOP president. I don't know his name, but yes.
Were there doctors and nurses present?
When I came, no.
And the injuries that you photographed or what Ray pointed out to you and indicated to you were the injuries he sustained on Rice Street, correct?
Yes, that I asked him if there were any injuries that he had had, and those were what he had pointed out to me.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Just want to reiterate, in collecting all the gun, the duty belt and all that, there were extra magazines,
Yes, sir.
you know, all the things that are on there, that come with a duty belt, those were all on the duty belt. You collected the belt and everything that was on the belt.
That's correct.
Okay. Nothing further, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Officer, you may step down and